Video review of the SBAC questions 15, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, and 27. Starting with number 15 with the triangle. So you have figure A and figure B. It gives you one dimension here for this side and the corresponding side X here. So the scale that maps figure A onto figure B is a ratio or proportion of 1 to 7 and 1/4. So the X over here is 7 and 1/4 to the 1 over here. So more or less it's 7 and 1/4 times as much as figure A's. For every one of these, you'd have 7 and 1/4 of those. So to get this, I would convert 7 and 1/4 into a decimal, and I would put that as 7.25. You can use a calculator if needed to take the 1 divided by the 4. Remember to take that decimal fraction to a decimal, divide the numerator up on top by the denominator down on bottom, and then we would have 7.25. That's the ratio for every 3 of these. So it'd multiply by 3. If you're able to use a calculator, use a calculator. For this one, on the SBAC, it would allow it. If not, you would multiply just like normal. You would just need to add the decimal in. So 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus the 1 is 7. And then 3 times 7 is 21. And then you'd count the decimal places. So from the right to the left, 1, 2. For decimal places here, 1, 2. Your decimal would go here. 21.75, so this would be 21.75. So it's a ratio or proportion. So like if this number on the left was 3 and this one number on the right was 5, it'd be at a ratio of 3 to 5. For every 3 of these, it'd be 5 of those. So for that, you could set up a proportion because it's not always going to give you that number 1. So if it gave you that and these same numbers with the number 3 here, you'd go a ratio of 3 to 5, equaling a ratio of 3 to x. And then for this one, you can do the cross multiplication because it's not always going to give you a proportion of 1 of this to the other side. Okay, next, number 18. This is similar to a question you did before. So it's asking you to enter the area in square inches. So once again, I would do kind of an imaginary line here, and I'd break it down to 25 times 10. So 25 times 10 would be 250 for this area here. And then I'd multiply 15 times 75 to get the bottom one. So that would be 15 times 75, 1,125. And then you would just add those two together. So it'd be 1,375 for the total. Okay, next one, number 19. So for this one, somebody went to an appliance store. They purchased a refrigerator and a stove. The sale price was 40% off the original price, and the sale price for the stove was 20% off the original. So which statement must be true to conclude that Alfonso received a 30% overall discount on the refrigerator and the stove together? So for this one, I just chose some easy numbers to work with to see what would work. And my initial thoughts were that the original price of the two would be the same, but I wanted to check to make sure. So I first started with one of the items, the refrigerator. And if you took 40% off That would be $60, the price, because you're taking $40 off. Easy to calculate. You can use mental math for that for numbers with 100. So if you took 40% off, the cost would be $60 of the refrigerator. And then I did the same thing for the stove. I used 100 for the original price. Then I took 20% off, which would be a $20 discount. And then that would leave a price of 80. And then I took the numbers 80 and 60, added them together to get 140. Then to check if my answer was correct, I saw the total original price of them together was 100 and 100. So then I did division. I did 140 over 200 to see what percentage it was of the original price. And if you divide 140 by 200, you'd get 0.7, which turned out to be 70%. So you're paying 70% of the original price for these items combined together. That would mean you're getting 30% off. So yes, this one would be correct. So for number 21, it says the circumference of a circle is approximately 37.7 centimeters. It wants to know the radius in centimeters. So the formula to get circumference is 2 times pi times r. Or it could be pi times diameter. But since they're asking for the radius, I could use this one. So 2 times pi times r. So 2 times 3.14 times the radius equals 37.7. So then I would multiply those together. The 2 times 3.14, and I get 6.28 times the radius equals 37.7. And then I have a one-step equation here. So I would divide by 6.28 on this side and divide by 6.28 on this side. So if I put that into the calculator, 37.7 divided by 6.28, it'd give me 6.003, a bunch of decimals, and it says to round it to the nearest whole number. So I would just put that as 6. So this one has an inequality. This is similar to a two-step equation. You just have to factor in the sign here for the value. So solve it like a normal two-step equation, 6x minus 4. I'm going to, for now, just put the equal sign. You can go back and then look at this sign when we're done. So solve it like a regular two-step equation. Opposite of minus 4 is plus 4. Do that on both sides. You're left with 6x equaling 12. Then you have 6 times x here, so divide by 6. Divide by 6. The 6's on the left cancel. You get x equals 2. So now I'm going to use the sign up here. X is less than 2. So if x is less than 2, here's 2. You would drag this arrow to the left. And the open circle here means it cannot equal to. X has to be less than 2. If it was like this, x is less than or equal to 2, then you would put this one because it has the closed circle. Open circle means it does not include. Okay, for the next one, number 23, it says that somebody claims that a fraction, any fraction, located between 1/5 and 1/6 on a number line must have a denominator of 6. So first thing I did is I thought of these two fractions as decimals. So I just divided 1 by 7, and I got 0.14. and I divided 1 by 5 and got 0.20. So the claim is that any number as a fraction on this number line must have a denominator of exactly 6. So you can put in, try a different one, like you can try 1 over 8. Would that give me a decimal that is in between there? And if you divided those two, it would give you 0.125. So that's not in between those two. Or if you used a smaller number than 5 as a denominator, like 1 over 4, that would give you 0.25. That would be too much. So is there a number in between here that's not going to give you a number, that will give you a number in between there? So I can now think of decimals. So what if I did 1 over 5.5? So if I put that into the calculator, 1 divided by 5.5, I'd get 0.18. And it would be a repeating decimal, but that would go in here. So that could be your evidence that is incorrect. The next one, for purchasing a motorcycle, this person paid 12.5% in tax, and the tax added this much to the price. So 12.5% over 100 is equal to the cost of the tax. So now we're going to figure out what the total price is if 12.5 is the amount of the tax. So from there, you would just cross multiply and divide. So you would do 100 times this, and basically that would move the decimal over 2 places. So you'd have 1,43750, and then on this side you'd have 12.5x, and then you'd want to solve for x. So you would divide by 12.5 on this side, divide by 12.5 on that side. So these would cancel, and then you can put that into the calculator. So I would put 143,750 divided by 12.5, and you'd get 11,500. So that would be the original price of the motorcycle. And then for the last one, I put in down here the dimensions of the wheelbarrow, and if you multiplied those together, you'd get a volume of 9. And then the delivery truck, 11 by 8 by 6, is here. That volume would be 528. Now, they want to put planting soil in the truck until the truck is 70% full. So this will be the minimum number of times that somebody can use the wheelbarrow to get it 70% full. So first thing I want to do now is see what 70% full would be. So I put that over here. So I'm trying to get to 70%. So I put 70 over 100. How much of that 528 would that be? Then from there, you're going to need to divide this answer after you cross multiply and divide to solve for x. You will need to divide that x by 9, because each one of the wheelbarrow trips would take up 9. So get that answer and divide by 9.